So, with the CFPB seemingly to be down, it's still important for consumers to know that help is still available in terms of holding entities accountable and letting it be known that money is still being issued out. Here we're looking at the FTC, an article that came directly from them, one of their press releases, and they talked about how new report shows FTC returned $337.3 million to consumers in 2024 alone. So they've sent out billions, but millions for 2024 alone. And I'm going to do a deep dive on whether or not certain companies you may be accustomed to might owe you some money. So definitely stick around. And if you need help with your credit, link in the description. That being said, let's dive in. As a result of the agency's law enforcement actions, the FTC sent $337.3 million in refunds to consumers in 2024, according to the FTC's annual report on refunds released today. So getting money back for people across the country is the top priority for the FTC. And, that's basically what the director of the Bureau of Consumer Protection said. They said, we will relentlessly pursue refunds for Americans who lost money due to unlawful practices. A lot of companies are doing things unlawfully, and it's good to know that there's certain entities that apply pressure. That's the importance of the CFPB. Not sure if they're fully out of commission, because I still have clients who have been receiving emails from things that are being done, but the FTC is another level up, and this is a government entity, and they're doing some good work as well. So the FTC annual report on refunds consumer provides a breakdown of total amounts refunded by the FTC nationally, as well as the amount sent to consumers in each state, and I'll show you exactly what that looks like. The report also includes a list of cases in which the agency sent first distribution payments in 2024. For example, the agency sent $99.3 million to consumers who were charged for sham health plans marketed by Benefit Technologies. So if you've been scammed by that company, then money has been sent out, and it could be money available to you if you haven't already tapped into it. In addition to provide statistics about each distribution in 2024, the report also includes information about the FTC's refund process, including how it determines who is eligible for a refund. The FTC also has interactive dashboards online with more detailed information about consumers' refund, and that's where you can access that, ftc.gov/explore data. Now, the dashboards include the ability to search for the number of refunds issued by state for each case, as well as breakdowns of the forms of payment used to provide refunds in various cases. And like I told you, I'm going to show you in detail what that looks like to a degree. And the FTC works to promote competition, protect, and educate consumers, because it's important for a consumer to be educated about what's going on, what that's happening to, what they have available. Otherwise, they can easily be taken advantage of. We see it all the time with banks and other companies. They make money and profit off of taking advantage of people in many cases. So it's good for you to be educated and know what you have available to you, and also know how to properly restore your credit and keep your credit up once you get it up, and also know how to dispute inaccuracies and unlawful behavior that shows up on your consumer report. That's what we help people with as well. And like I said, you can tap into the link in the description if you need help in that area. But let's talk about the money. So the FTC will never demand money, make threats, tell you to transfer money, or promise you a prize. You can learn more about consumer topics. So this is some things that they make note of, just so you can be aware. But let's dive into the numbers, the actual cold hard numbers of what the FTC has done. So here are the 2024 FTC annual report on the refunds to consumers, and it looks like this. So as you can see from this chart, it says that they've given out $337.3 million in refunds and $280.7 million in refunds directly from the FTC. That came directly from the FTC, and 3.1 million people were cashed out from the FTC payments. That's pretty significant. In addition to that, 11.5 million was sent to the U.S. Treasury, and 9.8 million paid for administrative costs, which makes sense as well. Now, the whole goal of the FTC law enforcement actions is to stop illegal practices and, when possible, get refunds to people who lost money. Once the FTC lawsuit or settlement is final and the defendants have paid the money ordered by the court, the FTC's Office of Claims and Refunds develops a plan for returning that money to the right people. Most FTC court orders require that if there is any money left over after the refund program is complete, or if there is not enough money to provide meaningful refund amounts, then the money is sent to the U.S. Treasury, where it is deposited into the general fund. So it's more data that you can look into at that same link that was available down below. So here's a breakdown of the funds. They got the breakdown from 2024, 2023, 22, 21, and 20. So the green percentage represents the amount refunded to the consumers. The lime green represents the amount sent to the U.S. Treasury, and the blue represents the administrative cost. So seems like they're running a pretty lean operation, based on this observation. So here are the consumer nationwide benefits from FTC program. The FTC refunds mailed to states in 2024. So if you look at these states, you'll see how much was mailed to certain states, all the way from Alaska, all the way down to military bases. So it lays it all out in details, letting you know the international payment, electronic payments, and the total sent right here in this example was over 325 million. So how the FTC provides refunds, and this is important for you to know, so you might want to screenshot this if you are someone who maybe owes some funds. So success in getting refunds to people depends principally on whether the FTC has a reliable list of customers, including their contact information and the amount of money they spent. In most of our cases, the FTC has this information and it mails checks out to a list of known customers. In other cases, there is no list of known customers, or there is insufficient contact information and the agency must use a claims process to identify people who are eligible for a refund. There are at least 6 steps involved in every refund program. So number 1, identify who is eligible for a refund. Number 2, determine how the money will be divided. 3, send refunds. 4, update contact information and send payments as needed. 5, consider whether an additional distribution is feasible. 6, send any remaining money to the U.S. Treasury. So identifying who is eligible for a refund, this is the steps in the process of what it looks like. So let's go over it briefly. I won't read it verbatim, but I'll give you the nit and gritty. FTC court order typically require the defendants to provide a list of customers, their contact information, how much each customer paid. If the agency obtains a reliable list of eligible recipients, then the agency mails checks and sends electronic payments directly to them. During calendar year 2024, the FTC used defendant data to send checks, electronic payments. To date, 59% of eligible consumers have cashed their payment. So people are receiving it. FTC expects average participation rate to exceed 70% once all distribution activity is complete. If the agency doesn't have all the data it needs to send payments to eligible consumers, a claims process may be necessary. And the agency's Consumer Sentinel Network database may be used to find eligible recipients. So they're using a certain database to help find recipients. Then let's get into determining how the money will be divided. So in cases where the court order does not specify the parameters of the refund program, FTC staff determines the eligibility criteria and the formula for calculating payments to eligible recipients. In cases where the settlement fund is not large enough to provide full refunds to every customer, the FTC analyzes the data to determine how best to distribute the refunds. When making these decisions, FTC staff considers the administrative costs that must be paid by the fund, the type of harm, and the size of the refund to each recipient, how much variation there is between the lowest and the highest loss amounts, and other details about the case. So they have a process to determine how people get paid and how to distribute it. Then when it comes to sending a refund, they have mechanism in place to verify the accuracy of our distributions and to confirm only the approved recipients receive payments. First, the unique identifiers are assigned each potential claimant at the beginning of the case. FTC staff independently reviews each distribution, checks the proposed list of recipients against the master list, and investigates any discrepancies before approving distribution. So they got a thorough process. Now, let's look into the actual companies. And this is what many people may have been looking for. Are you amongst those who may be old? Well, do these companies look familiar? I see a couple of companies that I may need to check and see if I'm owed anything based on this observation. So you see American Vehicle, Apex Capital Group, AT&T, Benefit Technologies, which is that company that was, that we mentioned earlier. You see Cafe Press, Consumer Defense LLC, Credit Karma. Interesting. And 84% of those people were cashed out. Consumers who cashed the payment to date for Credit Karma is over 42,000. So if you look, you'll see these companies. Then you see the data was sent, the amount of money that was sent, how many consumers were eligible. So for Credit Karma, over 50,000, almost 60,000. Almost 51,000 consumers who cashed a payment to date, and percentage of consumers who cashed a payment to date. So they give the amount of people that cashed and the percentage of the people who actually were eligible on the side as well. So look at these companies. Fortnite, Hey Dude Shoes, which is a growing brand, interestingly enough. MyScore LLC, Open Door, Ring LLC. So all of these companies are companies that have been issuing out payments. So updating contact information and resending payments. Finding current contact information for eligible recipients is a challenge. So it's certain things that they want people to do in order to make sure that they have all of the accurate information. So the agency also uses different payment methods to reach additional consumers. For example, the agency sometimes sends electronic payments to consumers after uncashed checks go void. In 2024, the FTC used Zelle payments to reach additional Amazon Flex drivers who were owed a payment from the FTC's 2021 settlement with Amazon. This was the agency's first time using Zelle to send payments. The distribution resulted in 2,806 successful payments, increasing participation from 90.3% to 92.3% of eligible drivers. To date, 130,952 Amazon Flex drivers have received full compensation, totaling more than 58.5 million. So, considering whether an additional distribution is feasible, they have a process to go through that as well. But here's some other cases with additional distribution, and you may want to screenshot this as well. So you got 8-Figure Dream Lifestyle, Career Education Corp, Harvest Moon, Life Management, Mold, Office Depot, RagingBull.com, Resident Home. So these are Vantage Point Services, Yellowstone Capital. So these are companies you may be familiar with. St. James School of Medicine. You may be familiar with these companies. And again, it shows the number of consumers in most recent distribution, money sent, return to consumers in previous distribution, and number of consumers who have cashed at least one payment. So it gets deep in terms of how they operate, and they are paying out in different forms and reaching out to certain people and finding out ways to best provide funds that are for those who are eligible. Long story short. So the name of the game is understanding that there are some entities in place that can help you. The FTC is one of those entities. I just wanted to do an overview of how their process works and what you may need to be on the lookout for in terms of certain companies and how you can access this information. This was a part of the ftc.gov press releases. You can access it directly there, but I wanted to show you just in case you needed to see it to understand the depth of how this goes, the depth of their process, and then get what's yours if there's anything that's owed to you. Again, if you need help with your credit, you know what to do, so do what you know. Salute.